So I decided to restain my kitchen cabinets. This is what they looked like before. They were installed in 1999. It's that yellow oak that came in all those tract homes. Real thin veneer, poor quality. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to unscrew just this portion of the hinge because these, if I start taking them all off, they're going to be loose. The holes will get larger and then my whole cabinet will be loose. So the product I'm using, you don't need to stand unless, there's certain areas that are in really poor shape, which I have to do in a few. This is what it looks like after a second coat. It's pretty rough looking. You have to put it on thin and you wait 12 hours in between coats. It's a gel stain, so you can't overwork it and put it on too thick or it just lifts up the gel stain. This is what it looks like after 2 coats, much better. And I'm doing like a dry, it's still kind of wet. I'm doing like a dry technique on the second and third coat. Sometimes I'm doing 3 coats, sometimes 2 coats, depending on the thickness that I want. The look I'm going for is going to have like the grain showing through instead of like a thicker painted look. I'll show you that in a minute. This is the product that I'm using. It's a gel stain from Bloom, and Candlelight's a redder color that I thought I wanted that I'm not going with now, but you put the stain on, and then after that about 7 to 10 days you put the satin finish on, which is just kind of to help kind of seal it, and it'll be easier for cleanup. Let's see if I can actually show you what I mean by a dry technique. Oh, before you start, you have to wash your cabinets. I used TSP. I found a liquid TSP, which you put just a little bit in water and you wipe it off, and it gets rid of like all the any grease that you might have or whatever. So here's a cabinet that's ready for a second coat, and I'm going to try and show you. I don't know if I can hold the phone and do this at the same time, but I'm going to try. What I mean by a dry technique is I'll dip just a tiny little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but do you see how much paint is actually on there? Just a tiny amount. Then I wipe it off. Then I kind of dab it to get rid of even more around the edge. So there's like hardly any paint on there. Then when I go over it, I'm going to start at the edge and work down. And you have to be really careful because you're going to see every brush stroke. So if you look, it's just going on really light. Because I still want to see a little bit of that coming through. I'm going to start at the bottom and go straight up. And that's it probably for the inside panel. I see a little area that I need to touch up right here. And that's it. You can't overwork it. So the inside of that panel is just about done. Now I can't keep going over it. Did you see how that paint came up? I think that's what I'm trying to show you. So I can't go back over that. I'm going to have to wait and do a third coat to touch up those little areas. So that's just the center panel. So tomorrow morning, I'll finish that center panel. But right now I'm going to shut the phone off and do the outside. I'm going to show you the areas that I will have to sand are going to be the problems. Like right here is over, it's like it goes over the refrigerator where the water comes out and it's got water damage. That area I am going to have to lightly sand because you can see the varnish is chipped off, showing you the worst of it. So we'll see how that turns out. I'll lightly sand it, not too hard, because then I'll lose all of the actual crevices of the cabinet. So we'll see how that turns out, and I'll show you that in a couple of days. Let me show you what it would look like. Whoa, bear with me. If I just go with a plain gel stain, but go over it real thick, it's going to look like paint. That also looks really pretty. So there's the color that I'm using, and I've got it in the light so you can see. And that's like 3 coats, and it's more of a paint. So there's no grain showing through. This was the red that I chose at first. I really liked it. It was like a cherry oak or cherry red look, but it was just too red for my kitchen. So here is a finished product, or a finished area. And see what I mean by the color showing through? I still got a little tiny bit of touch up that I can do with it, like right here. I see it's like a little light compared to the side. So anyway, I'll make another video in like 2 days or 3 days.